Yes, hello. First of all, I want to thank Riseba to invite me. And what I like about these meetings, this kind of conferences, that you rethink or understand. Because sometimes you think you understand everything, and then you meet clever people, and they change your mind completely. Yeah, about that. So my first question will be to the last speaker. I will leave the philosophy to the end. In some ways. Yeah, it was really impressive concept I actually heard of, but how you, I wouldn't say fight, but how you share the market with this investment, still investment property. Do you have any friction, or how you feel about that? You are architect, however, you are in the processes.
Well, one thing I would say is that people often say build to rent is essentially student accommodation, but for grown-ups. Because again, student accommodation, when we used to go to university, or generations before me, the accommodation was pretty poor, whereas student accommodation today is a very different model. It's much more like build to rent. But the interesting thing I've noticed is even though they share so much DNA and they share the same sort of investment model, long-term income goals, build to rent is very open and collaborative, whereas I'm not saying the student accommodation sector isn't, but it's certainly less collaborative. And I think that comes from everybody recognizing that they were at the start of something that they had a lot of belief would be successful, but there was a lot of questions about it. How would it work? What would it cost? What would it look like? What makes it different to this product or that? And so we found all the competitors in that market, the investors, the developers, the operators, they would all get together and talk about it and share all their experiences. And that's a really nice, warm feeling to be around when you're talking to people who are just solely focused on sharing information so that we can all elevate and get better. And that has largely stayed true. People are getting a little bit more cagey about some of the data metrics behind it and how they rent their apartments, because we've seen such a huge rental growth that it's become very, very financially rewarding. So people are getting a little bit more cagey. But the interesting thing from an investor point of view is we're very good about talking about it. But one of the problems about that is we tend to find ourselves in our little bubbles. So I've spoken at a lot of build-to-rent conferences where you're talking to other people about how great build-to-rent is, but they're there because they think build-to-rent is great. So you all think everybody's saying the same thing, and then you step out of your bubble, you go somewhere else, and you realize people haven't heard of us. People don't know what build-to-rent is. And I'm lucky enough to be part of a housing commission with links to central government, and we did a session with House of Lords recently. And again, when you suddenly go inside that Westminster bubble, from a political level, you start to realize that we are talking to ourselves too much, and we're not actually spreading the message about some of the benefits more widely. So I think, again, the investors, they need to kind of start engaging with the wider rental community and start sharing some of the benefits.
But before you start this project, how long do you have, I presume you have the talking to the community, to the people around, to not only to authorities, how long it takes to, to have this ground for a project to start?
It's a good question. So I think typically, again, we're seeing, I think it's because it's a relatively new concept. So some clients are coming to us and they know exactly what they want, and they know exactly how many 1 beds, how many 2 beds, they know what amenity to provide. Some clients come to us and they're like, we do this, big companies like Greystar, who are the world's largest operator of rental living. They have a very clear idea of what they want. But also, we as the architects try to encourage really local specific knowledge. So sometimes that comes from us, sometimes it comes from the operators. So the operators might not be, they won't have a chance of getting near to this building for probably 3 years because it takes so long to design, get the permits, get on site and get it built. So from us talking about it till it opening is at least 3 years. but some of the operators are talking to them 3 years before they'll get a chance to operate the building because they're bringing that local knowledge. So it's worth listening to what operators have seen work elsewhere. But one size doesn't fit all. It's very, very specific to the context. So it takes, we start talking about it immediately, but it always changes through that 3-year period. And just before you open the building, you might have completely pivoted from providing an amenity which is all about paddle, because paddle was the big thing when you were designing the building. 3 years later, nobody's playing paddle. What do you do with that space? So you have to, again, to the points made earlier, you have to design for flexibility and adaptability as well.
Okay, thank you for that. And I think we today have seen 3 phases of sustainability, I would say. I have written 2 pages with the text today. Now I'm confused. Okay, now it's like efficiency level, what Michael just spoke about. And then there is the Stefan's sustainability, which is more about reusing of existing. And I remember the map you showed with the red areas where you said that the property is less expensive. And how do you think, would these regions, those districts, become a new centers, like leaving the existing center down, how you call it, the city, the expensive center on outskirts, actually?
Yeah, they start to become new quarters with own centers, but what will happen if we are not political and aware of it? Everything will be replaced and everything will be very expensive. So that's the main problem. And we will have some gentrification, and we have to ask them where to bring the people now able to pay the rent. Renting in Switzerland is very normal. That's normal case. No one can afford any apartment. That's way too expensive, and it's more interesting for investors to rent because the price of the property rises that fast that it's better to keep the property than to sell. So renting is a very normal cost. But the problem is now everything is replaced, and of course somewhere in the Alps or somewhere in the no man's land you can find something to buy, but then you have to commute 1 hour and you are alone somewhere, and this is not good for the development of our country. And of course Switzerland has not that many land for consumption anymore, so whether we replace everything and everything becomes very expensive, or we start to think about reuse existing, maybe we add 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 floors on top of existing buildings. That's possible, that we are doing in our practice in the office as well. But now we have really to be aware in at least the cities of Switzerland, and I know Munich and all these, they have the same problems.
But on the level of the city government or even the country government, do they do something about it? Are they involved in this, or they are just, leave it as it is and just be on the side of investors?
No, it's of course, a topic, because a city does not work if there is only one milieu around. If only rich people having 3 or 4 or 5 apartments in the whole world, the city will be mostly empty, because that's a reality too. There are a lot of black apartments, means no light. They come once a week in a year in the top of the towers, but they really do not need it, so that's another problem. And yeah, that's something. And to build urbanism is all about society, and society is urbanism. And these negotiation processes we need to have. We have to be, as I said, political, and of course, we are in contact with the governance, with the politicians, and we have to really work on this. It's a step-by-step thing. And of course there are other opinions, but it's politics. And if we are quiet and don't say anything and just do what they tell us, then nothing will change. Of course, at the moment, money and capitalism is very strong, but that can be changed by alliances. Money is not only bad, you can do good things with money, and that we have to try. It's not about being against investors, it's not about being against money, it's not about being against banking or something, but at least building alliances with the one who wants to do. There are good investors having very good ideas and working very well as well with ideas of being more social, being more sustainable and so on. And that's our job to really daily be in contact with them as well.
And this is the proof that architects, we are not only the, building environments, we have to be politicians also. We are like multifunctional people doing everything just to have our goal fulfilled, let's say. And sustainability as a well-being of different social groups, I think, Johan, it's your topic. And what I have here remarked from your speech is home is not defined by architects. Is it right, or what? I was mistaken?
No, that's absolutely right. I mean, I as much as I'm even like grown up in architecture, probably more than many here around who are architects, I have to say, never anything was defined as myself, my stomach, the belly of the architect, Greenaway. I'd like to refer to a very, very good film. I have to say that no, it's not predominantly defined by an architect. It's predominantly defined by what you call the customer, what I still call the tenant. I think we may struggle on that. and what others maybe call owners or co-owners or cooperative members, however we define that. But the persons who are in the accommodation that is used, whichever kind of accommodation, they are defining what is their home, because the home is decided here and not so much in terms of the IKEA table that we have in front of us, which was already in my childhood existing, or use, not childhood. So back then it was 5 mark. Very interesting. Doesn't exist anymore, the currency. I wanted to come back to the one thing that you mentioned, Michael. Thank you very much for this. But I have a little bit of question in return. Is it that you are actually selling an old concept that for the German language countries is absolutely normal?
Yes, in a nutshell. I think when we first started talking about it, everybody was talking about America and multifamily, and because we had some of the first people pioneering this in the UK were American companies coming over like Greystar. So there was naturally a lot of synergies there. However, again, one of the benefits of having European studios is knowing that actually rental living elsewhere, once you get outside of the UK, is normal, and it's done. But funnily enough, I used to think, well, what can we bring as a benefit to people who've been doing this for their whole life? And there's actually quite a lot.
I think you have, yeah.
There's quite a lot. And the reason I get quite passionate and enjoy this work is because it's really innovative and dynamic sector. So it's always thinking about the latest technology and how to get things better, the latest data. So because it's new, it doesn't have maybe decades of kind of preconceived ideas that it's battling. So I think because it's fresh and it's new and it's dynamic, it brings something new to it. But when we did a study tour to San Diego to look at multifamily, and again I wrote a paper on this on our website. I went over there thinking, well, what will they do over there that surely everything they do is better than ours, but it's not. There's a lot of things we've done very well in our particular model and in our particular treatment of customers, residents, that actually they could learn from. And then we started looking at the Spanish market and started thinking, okay, so rental and to your point about the German market, rental is already an accepted lifestyle, whereas in the UK it was the narrative goes you only rent because you can't afford to buy. No one would ever choose to rent. You'd be absolutely mad. That's not true. That's not what the younger generation are saying. And what they're showing us is that they love renting. They do not appreciate bricks and mortar and long-term assets, liabilities like previous generations did. So when you go to a country that's been doing it for a long time, you're already halfway there because people accept renting as a way of life. But I think the difference is because the UK had to try so hard to make it really attractive that we're actually doing some things better than other places, I would say.
Thank you. Sorry that I asked the
Oh,
question.
no,
because
this is absolutely okay.
I'm super curious about that. Yeah. Okay.
Maybe there is another, you might ask each other some questions you want. No, it's absolutely, because I have one question in my pocket, but this is the last one. So maybe, no? Each other? No questions? Okay, good. Then I have a personal question to each of you. What is more important and why? What is more important for you, process or the goal?
Process or?
The goal. Is it like, yeah.
Always the process.
Or the result, let's say, process or result?
No, always the process. For me, the process is the result. Once we have been starting a process, I might totally refer to what Stefan and also Michael just now also expressed, but very much what Stefan expressed also and was showing the models from mostly also Zurich, that the process, for example, when we're thinking the whole temporary usage and the whole reuse and all the ideas, that's just one example. Of modern times we have had in centuries ago, we had actually similar modes, but okay, we're looking on today, started back in his hometown, Zurich. Zurich was the place where everything kicked off and then swept over to us, to Germany, like somewhere in the 70s, and that is us, meaning Germans, sorry. When we are looking on this, now, like 2012-13, we founded Free Riga here in Riga. So you see, it's a process somewhere from the 17th, coming here to Latvia in 2010s. And nowadays, it's an established thinking also that we reuse, that we are maybe thinking of building an existing structure. This is existing factory structure and we really reuse the whole thing. So fantastic. That's why it makes so much also really fun to work here and to be here. I think those elements are processes. They have in between small little steps and results, but they never, I can't see the result. I mean, I can't see the result of my life, for God's sake. I mean, I don't know how long I will be around.
No, maybe you know the result you want to achieve, and then there is a process.
The result that I want to achieve is very much the last subject that Stefan mentioned, which I, for whichever reason, maybe because it was 4:21 when in the morning today when I closed my presentation work, that usually I end my presentation with a simple 2 words: have fun. Because sorry, very, very much, I'm still a punk. I still enjoy my life, and if I don't have fun, I can't continue.
Okay, thank you. If you may, in the short words, we have, time.
Yeah, just...
I stole too much time.
don't worry, I will be very short. I have only a problem with the word of goal because it leads to solutions, and we should have, as Gabo Heindl wrote, non-solutions. So I think more that we should have ideas. I mean, ideas very much relate with fun, because if you have fun, you follow immediately good ideas. And the idea of having better cities is an idea to follow, but in the process, daily changes. You don't know what Trump says tomorrow, so you have to adapt, and you still have an idea and follow it, but maybe the process leads to another way, and then you have to be active, you have to build alliance, you have to be present, you have to be political, and that's for it's the process for the idea of having a better, sustainable, inclusive world.
Okay, thank you.
For me, process as well. Very clearly process. I think the end goal is the reason, it's your North Star, it's the reason you get up and do anything. However, the process is where you learn, it's where you have fun. And it's easier, you can't take a product and look at it and learn a lot from just looking at the product, but if you were involved in the process, you can learn a lot from that. And it's like doing maths homework for my daughter. It's like, yes, you can get to the answer very quickly, but actually explaining how you got there as an adult in your later life, explaining how you're thinking when you realize not everybody thinks in the same way as you, that's so much more important. And again, the final reason, we always talk about having faith in the process, because that, again, it's really easy when you're stood at the bottom of a mountain and you've got big ambitions to get to the top, to get overwhelmed and feel a little bit daunted by it. But if you have confidence and faith in the process and just take that next step and know it doesn't matter, let's not get swept away, have an existential crisis by everything that's going on in the world right now, which is very scary. Let's just have confidence in our ability to take the next step, and let's just focus on that so we don't get overwhelmed. So I do think process is everything.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you very much, and I'm sorry to making it too long.